Meeting for the town of Walpole, the hour being 7:32, we'll call to order the Board of Health meeting for the town of Walpole on May the 19th, 2020. First item on our agenda is an update on the COVID-19 status in the town. Is that going to be Melissa or Patrick or both?
Do you want to start us off, Patrick, like usual?
You can kind of kick it off. Yeah, sure. Thanks, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for having me again tonight to provide this update on what administration's been focusing on. So as you all know, the big reveal yesterday was the governor's advisory task force, their final report as to the guidelines that they're recommending for reopening the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So the state stressed that the reopening will be driven by key public health data and key indicators before proceeding through the different phases. So up until yesterday, we were at the stay-at-home phase, and then there's the phase one, which is start, phase two, cautious, phase three, vigilant, and phase four, what they call the new normal. So at each of these phases, the guidelines prescribe specific activities that may be allowed to open in several categories related to travel, worship, business, health and human services, and outdoor recreation. So each of these phases will be a minimum of 3 weeks long, and so obviously the state, as well as our own local health department, will be monitoring some of these indicators to make sure that we are making progress with coronavirus before being allowed to proceed to the next level. Some people are saying that the state's going too slow, some saying they're going too fast, but I think the key here is that they're focusing on the key indicators, that they're being driven by data, not by impulse and by emotion. So as part of phase one, there are specific requirements for each businesses, such as mandatory self-certification for businesses and adherence to minimum safety standards. So in addition to obviously the town's role as enforcing public health, we, as our own employer, our own place of business, have to comply with these standards also. So this has really been our focus for the past week or so, also working with the health department. Jim and I started drafting standard operating procedures for each of our departments to make sure that the public that comes into our town building stays safe. But also, as an employer of 1,300 employees between the municipal departments and the school departments, we want to make sure that our employees are safe also. So it's just last week, Melissa and I and Superintendent of Buildings, Don Anderson, took a walk around Town Hall to figure out key places of congregation that won't be allowed anymore, what we need to do to improve workspaces in some of the departments, and just general safety protocols for the public as they come in to pay their taxes or meet with the department. So I think we put together a pretty good plan. We've already started. I'm looking up in the town administrator's office now. It looks like a bomb went off because we're rearranging things in there, putting up a counter for the public so they're not able to necessarily just kind of walk right in. There's going to be encouraging counters at several of the offices. We've got a counter here, a counter going to go into the assessors department. Glass windows that go up in the town clerk's office. We're replacing a window up in the water department. So we're all very cognizant of the requirements that that we also need to comply with. Before I turn it over to Melissa, I'm not certain if this was information that was relayed to the Board of Health last week, but there is an update with town meeting. So town meeting has been scheduled for Saturday, June 20th at 12 o'clock. It's going to be on Turco Field. I've got pretty neat diagram of the seating arrangement where they're all going to be 5 yards apart in either direction to allow for, if that's 15 feet, if you're walking down the middle of them, you've got 7.5 feet on either side. But, that's going to be a pretty interesting concept. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out. And then the town administrator is working with town council and the town clerk to schedule the town election on Saturday, June 27th. And we're still kind of working on the final details for that, so just stay tuned. Unless there's any specific questions, I'll turn it over to Melissa.
So the town meeting on June 20th, that's weather permitting, right?
Yeah, we've got a rain date scheduled for Sunday the 21st, which is Father's Day, so hopefully we don't need to move it to then, but we do have a rain date of the 21st.
Okay, good.
Melissa, am I missing anything?
Oh, Patrick, that was a really good update. Just to quickly touch upon, so obviously, given the governor's guidance yesterday, we're working with those businesses that are now allowed to operate as of yesterday, and then those that are now allowed to operate as of this coming Monday, the 25th. Like Patrick mentioned, they are required to do a self-certifying, so I did send that information to everyone. So they're required to fill out a template. That's something that they're not required to submit directly to the health department. However, if we were to get any complaints or concerns, we could request this documentation from any business that is allowed to operate. So working with that, we were on a call today with the Department of Public Health. It's tricky because I feel like we are getting information as it's kind of getting released. We're not getting, information prior to that. So looking ahead to camps and pools, it's a hot topic. Obviously, there's a lot of planning that goes into having a camp, having a summer camp. So we were told that both camps and pools will be within phase 2. So we haven't received any more clarification on that, but they are saying within the week that we should have further guidance regarding camp. So that's something to talk about. An additional item on the call today, I know the schools have been working hard to try to come up with some sort of graduation for the schools, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. Department of Public Health, as of today, said to kind of hold off on any plans at this very moment. They do have an advisory committee working on this topic, and again, should have guidance hopefully within the next few days. And then once they provide the guidance, then, plans can be made based off of that. So that information, was given to the superintendent of schools today. So we'll work closely with the schools to make sure that whatever is in place is done in a safe and healthy manner and hopefully recognizes the kids to the best of the school's ability.
Technical question, I guess, Melissa. I know that phase 2 is supposed to be a minimum of 3 weeks after phase 1. Does the clock start as of yesterday, or does the clock start on Monday the 25th?
So it's tricky because I feel like from what I heard, it's not like a cut and dry 3 weeks. It's approximately 3 weeks. So I would assume from when phase 1 rolled out, which would have been yesterday, because a portion of phase 1 rolled out yesterday, the second portion will roll out next week. However, like Patrick said, it's all based off of tests. It's all based off of numbers. It's all based off of how everything, how well phase 1 is perceived. We potentially could go back to the beginning, or we could advance to phase 2. So I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of things up in the air that will be determined through the next few weeks.
Okay. And then obviously, local boards of health have been kind of tasked with the enforcement of all of the regulations and permissions and so forth. And I'm assuming that our agreement now with the police department will assist in our ability to make sure that we are monitoring and enforcing all of the requirements of the phased openings.
Yeah, definitely. So we're obviously in very close contact with the police department. We're very grateful for their response and outreach to help us. So, for instance, this weekend, Chief Carmichael, he gives me a situational awareness, which he does present to the select board as well. So they had an incident at Walmart where an individual didn't have a mask on. So they were called. The individual, put a mask on. So it was just something like that. Little things like that where potentially we don't have to go out if it's after hours or if we're not available to go out. They can kind of act as a health agent. And I think it's very helpful. And I don't think there's been any issues so far. And I think they're willing to help us moving forward.
Okay, well, certainly be a very interesting time.
So their strategy from the beginning has been, they're going to approach this as part of their community policing philosophy. So, they're not actively just going up to people and, hey, pursuant to this regulation statute, you're in violation of, et cetera. The Walpole Police Department does a great job with their community policing philosophy and their strategy. And that's the way that another chief has been wanting to approach this.
Oh, and as it should be. I mean, even looking at the escalation guidelines and the information from the state, it starts with an educative kind of interaction, and then it moves up from there depending on how the folks react to that. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we want to be hauling people off in handcuffs just because they don't have a mask on.
So Patrick, which businesses are able to open during phase one that were considered non-essential in the past?
Melissa, do you have an exact?
Well, so it's manufacturing and construction. So it's tricky because some were already deemed essential. So we don't have like a list of what establishments in Walpole can open. Another thing is the firearms, so the shooting ranges can open as of yesterday. The look ahead, it's going to be the car washes. So the exterior, the self-service car washes, pet grooming by appointment. Also, offices would be allowed to reopen to a 25% maximum capacity. And then retail. So as of right now, only essential retailers were allowed to do curbside pickup. Now all retailers will be allowed to have a curbside pickup procedure in place. And that's but that's not until the 25th of May.
So the restaurants are not included in this phase?
So the restaurants are allowed to do their to-go, their takeout, their curbside pickup like they've been doing, but they are looking for more potentially outdoor seating in phase two, but they haven't provided us more clarification on that. But no, they're not involved in the phase one reopening.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other updates on COVID?
I think that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, though.
In regards to the email that you sent earlier today, Melissa, so if someone is tested positive for COVID-19 antibody, right? They're included in the total number of confirmed cases, even though there's a good chance that they're false positive, right?
So they are. So that's the whole problem now that they're having is potentially they could have had the antibody test say like this week and we got the result today, but potentially they could have actively had COVID back, in March. So yes, they're counted in the total numbers. However, it kind of like skews the current numbers, if that makes sense, because what's happening is you're getting these positive tests in. And you could say we have 9 new cases if someone looks at the website, but realistically, it's an antibody test. So unless they follow up with another PCR test to see if they actively have the virus, we have to treat it as if they actively have the virus. So it's definitely, so originally everyone was, full speed ahead with the antibody testing, but now obviously they're kind of pulling back to say, we think this is a good thing. However, we need to figure out a way to actually get the data so they're kind of separate, the serum testing, the serological testing, and then the PCR testing. So then that way we know current numbers and where we are if we flatten the curve and, if the phase reopening is still keeping the numbers low or not.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right. Anything else on COVID, or we can cut Patrick loose for the night and move on to our other stuff?
I love this. Cut me loose.
We're gonna have to put him lower down on the agenda next week. I think. Make him sit through some of the boring stuff. All right. Thanks very much for the update, Patrick. We'll see you next week.
Take it easy. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 5th meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, or deletions to those minutes? I didn't see anything going through them, but I rely on Carol's eagle eye to catch the things that I miss.
Didn't see anything.
Wow.
Good.
Of course, they were relatively small minutes.
Not as short as last week's, though.
Oh, that's true.
You can still make something.
That's true. You're right, Carol. All right, then we'll entertain a motion on the minutes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion in regards.
The minutes from the May 5th meeting be accepted as written.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Sounds like 4-0-0 on the minutes. And we have, 2 lifeguard variances to look at?
Yes.
Redwood Mews and Swan Pond. They've been before us for as long as I can recall. Were there any issues with either of those last season?
No issues with them last season. I did just send you all just the motions, just so you would have them in front of you. But obviously, just assuring that proper signage is posted around the pool area. You know, noting that there's no lifeguard present, and then obviously they would need to have that standard indemnification agreement prior to us issuing their permit. In addition to obviously us going out and doing an inspection of the pool area.
And have we received those indemnification agreements yet? From either
So
of them?
we have not. They are going to be sending them in, but on the indemnification letter, it does state the date that the Board of Health approves it. So we would put that in. So obviously it would be an approval based off of getting the indemnification form.
Huh? And for Swan Pond, it's just the lower pool, right?
It is, because that is the pool that the kids are not at.
Right. Okay. Any concerns from any of the board members on this?
No, I just,
It's the upper pool. Sorry, Bill. It's the upper pool. not the lower.
Okay. The lower pool's the lower pool does have a lifeguard.
For anyone, yes.
Okay.
so,
Comment on the Redwood. I really appreciated all their regulations on what
exactly.
age a person can be in the pool alone and what time. That was very clear.
Yep.
Okay. Then we'll entertain a motion then on, we'll need two motions because it's two separate places, but I think you could kind of make one motion and apply it to both.
Okay. I'll make a
Anyone would
motion
like to do?
regards to the variance request lifeguard for homes at Swan Pond Condominium. The Board of Health has no concerns at this point considering past history of compliance. And what I wanted to add for Swan Pond, though, is it possible to for them to, I know that they haven't come up with a list of restrictions yet, but the Red Moose restrictions, I really like their restrictions. So if we could follow the same restrictions, can we send them a list of those requirements, maybe?
So that is something that they are required to have on signage outside of their pool area or within their pool area. So what the Redwood News picked up, that's pretty much what is on their sign, which is required per the pool code through the state. They're required to all have that on the premises.
Okay, so nothing extra for the pandemic, right?
So for the pandemic, they'll definitely have to, this will all be probably given to us hopefully within the next few weeks as to if and when a pool can operate, what will it look like? And again, similar to the businesses, I'm assuming what they'll have everyone do is they're going to have some sort of COVID-19 SOP. So standard operating procedures as to this is what needs to take place in order to operate. And it would be our job as the health department, since we do issue them a permit, to make sure that they're adhering to it.
Sure. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, we're granting the variance on the lifeguard. The actual operation of the pool will be subject to anything that the state comes out in terms of regulations and requirements.
Okay, so the Board of Health grants the variance request for lifeguard for Swan Pond Condominium.
Okay.
Again, past history of compliance.
All right, so is that two motions just that you made? You made both Swan Pond and Redwood?
I haven't done,
You want to
no.
do Red? Well, okay, let's act on the Swan Pond one then. The motion is made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, sounds like 4-0-0 on Swan, and you want to do the one on Redwood as well?
So I'll make a motion in regards to the request for variance lifeguard for Redwood Mews Condominium. The Board of Health grants the variance considering history of compliance.
Okay. Motion is made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Sounds like 4-0-0 on that one as well. Anything else that we need to deal with tonight, Melissa?
So just a quick topic. I'm not Rachel. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but if you want to touch upon it. So Rachel brought to my attention that she was unaware of we have two 21 plus stores in Walpole. One Vape City, who you saw come in front of the board last week, and then the other is Wicked Vape, which is up off of Old Post Road near Route 1, near the new Dunkin' Donuts. So it was recently brought to our attention, so we did go out. It's now called Wicked Vape and Teas, or Wicked Vape Teas and More. Is it Teas and More?
Vape isn't even in the title
So
anymore.
it's Wicked Teas and More, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the question is if they technically change their business concept, is there something that needs to take place? Are they only a 21 plus store anymore? Or since they're selling loose leaf teas or packaged teas, are they selling to minors? So Rika and myself did go out prior to COVID just to see what they were selling. So they are, in addition to their vape products, they are selling teas, just teas, nothing with like any other tobacco component or anything in it. It's a packaged tea. So it doesn't require a retail food permit. So following my conversation today, I did reach out to the owner just to say, what are you looking to do? What is your end result? Are you looking to become under 21 tobacco store? Because obviously we have a cap with our tobacco licenses. We have 23 or 22, I think it's 23 under 21, and then we have 2 over 21. So technically that would change. He said he is doing 21 plus. He is selling very limited vapes because obviously now with the new rules and requirements, he can't sell flavored, which when Rika and I were out there back in February, he had very limited vape products. The components he had apparatus, so he had smoking devices, which he is legally allowed to sell. And he did have the loose leaf tea. So that being said, he did have some CBD products. So I did reach out to him today to find out what he's actually currently selling. He is selling 2 brands, so CBD MD and Heritage. And he's selling no edibles. They're not allowed to sell edibles, and that's in regards to our CBD regulations. So he did send me over some documentation, so I want to review it because technically if he's selling CBDs, as you are aware, he needs to provide lab testing requirements. So that's something we need to make sure that he has that in place if he continues to sell these products. But he isn't looking to change his store to an under 21. He's only looking to do 21 plus. And he's also does not do any online sales. But
Interesting combination. CBD, vape, and tea.
And tea, and then tea is legit tea, right? Nothing.
I mean, we didn't sample anything, but it's tea. It's loose leaf teas. It's pre-packaged. It's from China. Yeah.
Interesting.
Really interesting.
So regarding that, he's not even required to have a food permit because it's pre-packaged and it's considered retail, so it doesn't trigger even a food permit through our office. So the only thing that he would hold is a tobacco license, but obviously he would need to adhere to tobacco regulations as well as CBD regulations. So.
Okay. Well, let's keep an eye on that one.
That CBD, do we ever, I remember a while ago we had talked about the labs, and there's no labs in Massachusetts that are certified. Is there anything changed on that, or is there a place to get these testing?
So I guess they're saying that he's saying that there are labs within Massachusetts that are conducting testing. So I just need to see that documentation that that's true. He said Heritage is a Massachusetts company, so it operates out of Massachusetts. And the CBDMD is not within Massachusetts. So he would need to have testing within the state to show that he can provide, that he's allowed to sell it in Massachusetts.
Wasn't there something about the CBD products coming from a certified supplier within the state, and there were no state licenses issued?
But that was back then. I guess they're saying now they are. So I need to review his documentation to see if this is the case or if it's not allowed.
Okay, well, let's put that on the agenda for the meeting on the 26th for an update.
That sounds good. And worst case
can you
scenario,
have an update by then? Is that a
I should have an
reasonable?
update by then, and he
Well-
did volunteer to come in front of the board as well, so if I don't have answers,
No,
I'll
let's
call him
at
in
least
front of
put it on the agenda as a placeholder for next week.
Sure,
And if we've got something great, if not, we can bump it to the June meeting.
that sounds good.
Okay.
And these-
Anything else from anybody?
I know the vapes from last time. Do you know in the phased approach when something like this new tea place or the vape city, those places are going to be open again?
Richard, can you say that again? I'm sorry, I can't hear you that well.
Sorry about that. So
No.
thinking about that vape city that we had last time, and then of course this one, do we know when these types of businesses are going to be open according to the Massachusetts phased approach?
The earliest they'll open is phase 2.
Because they're not having any individuals enter buildings at this time. So like even retail, no one can enter a building, like Rachel said, until potentially phase 2.
And even with that, I think that they're going to, in phase 2, also have phases of retail opening. So, they're not going to say all retail stores open at once. It's going to be a phase within a phase, if you will.
I'm trying to think of a good place that we could do those audits of the vape city.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely the compliance checks.
yeah,
Question.
or
Right. Anything else for the board to deal with tonight?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah. All right, then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I
Tonight's
hear a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all very, very much. Enjoy the holiday weekend, as strange as it might be for everyone.
at home.
Thank you all for your continued effort and support, and we'll chat again on the 26th.